I'd like to call this meeting to order, the October 21st, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Education. We will start out with call to order. Jeremy?
Mr. Mitchell.
Here.
Mrs. McMacken.
Here.
Mr. Frazier.
Here.
Mr. Ford.
Here. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, everyone should have had the chance to review the minutes from the last board meeting on September 16th. If there are any questions or corrections, please let us know. Otherwise, I will take a motion to approve the September 16th Board of Education meeting minutes. So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right. Minutes are approved. And now we have the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have any questions on the agenda? All right, seeing none, if there's a motion to approve the agenda. Sean with the motion. Do we have a second? Kelly with the second. All right. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, then we have no hearing of the public items today. We'll move right on to the treasurer's agenda. Jeremy.
Good evening. The first quarter has been complete, so July, August, and September. And so if you look at the tab where it shows the 3-year comparison, we should be in the 25% range for expenses. And right now you'll see that our personnel and retirement is at 24%, and our supplies and materials are at 25%. And the one thing that's running over, which we discussed the last time, was the purchase services, but again, at the beginning of the year, that's to be expected, and it is going to be a little bit higher than what we projected our last 5-year forecast, so when you get that one in November, it will be adjusted up to reflect those expenses. But in totality, we're running exactly 25%, exactly where we're supposed to be at this point in time. So things are going according to plan. Are there any questions about the other reports that you received? The other item that I have on here tonight is approving the first resolution to use the alternate tax budget for the Miami County Auditor's Office. We do this every year. It's for the tax year 26, and it's just an estimate of where we think things will be almost 2 years from now. Fun stuff. And that's all I have for the treasurer's agenda tonight.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Jeremy? All right, seeing none, I will take a motion to approve the treasurer's agenda. So moved. Steve, and then Kelly with the second.
Sure.
All right. Jeremy, we call roll.
Mr. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mrs. McMacken.
Aye.
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mr. Ford.
Aye. All right. Treasurer's agenda is approved. Moving on to the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Invited the lead principals here this evening, and they're sitting around the table with us. You heard at our last meeting, we talked about our report card results were really good. We either stayed the same or improved in all areas. We didn't go down into any of the areas. But what's that work that happens behind that? We did a lot of work beginning this summer to get ready for this year. They did a lot of work with their staff on these first few days. So they've set some goals and they've started that work, and I really thought it would be important for them to share with you what they're doing. There's a lot of acronyms and educational terms, so if we let one of those slip and you have a question, let us know, because I want to make sure you understand the work that they're engaged with, because it's very good. So I think you all agreed just to kind of go around, so we'll start with Mr. Clark at Piqua Junior High School.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. And as Dwayne said, we started the work this past summer with our administrative meetings, so I know our goals at the junior high and probably the other buildings really just dovetail very nicely with what we talked about at the district level. So the primary goal, our first goal at the junior high, is that all students by the end of the year are going to be working independently at their grade level in all content areas. Very similar to our goals in the years past. Again, wanting to get kids to that place where at the end of the year they're able to work on their own at grade level content, making sure that throughout the year we're exposing them to that grade level content and asking them to do that independently. We put a lot of supports in place for students sometimes, but we want to make sure they have the ability to do that on their own. So we're going to be focusing on that in our observations with teachers, making sure they're doing those things day to day in class. One of the things we've done to really address an area that we know was a need for us at the junior high was math. We know we've had some issues with our math performance over the years, so we added some block math classes this year. So a pretty sizable chunk of our students now are getting two periods of math every day. We have 4 sections of block math at each grade level this year. It's 65 students at the 7th grade level, which is about 27% of our students are getting that extra 45 minutes of math every day, and 68 students at the 8th grade level, which is about 30% of our 8th grade students. So a very significant chunk of our kids are getting that additional time, and we're finding that to be so valuable. The reports from our teachers currently are that students have that time to really do that independent work with grade level material with a teacher there with them, whereas in the past, that might be homework that went home, and they may or may not have the ability to do those things. And now we're right there beside them, ready to help them when they need it, but practicing that work at grade level independently and having the time to do that in class while we're there with them. So we feel like we're seeing big results from that so far, and we think that will pay big dividends on the report card. They did well last year, but we're hoping to do even better this year. So that's an example of one of the things we're doing with our first goal. Our second goal, again, starting with what we talked about at the district retreat this summer, working to provide quality feedback to students throughout the learning process, making sure that teachers are right there with them, giving them feedback on their learning, on the work that they're doing, feedback that's going to lead to greater understanding of the content. I know in our rubric that we use in our evaluations, that's a big part of what teachers are focused on, and making sure that what they're doing in terms of those conversations with kids are really leading to that better understanding of the content. So one of the things we're doing with that to really make sure that's happening, an acronym, I won't use the acronym, but we do teacher-based teams. They're basically department meetings where we look at student work and we look at student results on assessments that we do. And the big thing we want to do is really use really good strategies for how to make sure we're providing really good feedback to students in their learning in the process. So really bringing the idea of feedback into our teacher-based teams to make sure we're planning it together and really doing it in a way that isn't just accidental, that we're actually planning it and really being effective with it. So that's Piqua Junior High.
Can you give an example of some focused feedback so they kind of get a better sense of that?
Just for example, I was in a couple math classes here recently, and multi-step problems tend to be an issue for students. The older they get, the more elaborate the math gets, and it's not just a simple calculation, one-step calculation, it's multiple steps. And I'm seeing teachers that are, and a lot of times in the block class, because they're able to sit down more individually with kids because they have that time to say, okay, you started it off really well here, your first step is really good, but on step 2, this is where something went wrong or something like that, to really with one-on-one with a student be able to say, this is where things maybe went awry and this is what you need to do to fix that. The other thing is really when they see kids doing something really well and really acknowledging that to all the students, and then really explaining why what they did was correct. Not just saying, hey, good job, but good job finding the value for that equation by doing these steps. And so that's the kind of things we're seeing.
How did you decide which students would need the double block?
Looked at past testing, both the state level testing and our data that we have from Procore and IXL. So just their past history and teacher recommendation, all those things. Mr. Bloom does a really good job of giving us so much data that we can use on our students to know where they stand. Interesting conversations with parents this summer when they found out, because it is new, and especially for our 8th graders this year, because they didn't do this last year, and you maybe would anticipate some kickback, some kind of pushback on, oh, I have to be in 2 periods of math, but a lot of, hey, thank you. we know our students needed this. And even from the kids, hey, thank you. It's nice to have this time to be able to do this in class.
That's good.
It's been really good.
That's positive
Yes.
response.
Any questions for Mr. Clark? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Loudback from Spring Creek.
Good evening, everyone. So, things that I'm going to talk about are very similar to what Mr. Clark just shared. This stems from our district work this summer. In simple terms, our building goals, we have 3 of them. The first one being all students will read, write, and do mathematics on grade level or above. So that's our big focus. 1B to that is we are really trying to emphasize students fluently reading by the time they leave first grade, so that then when they transition to second grade, they're reading to learn versus learning to read. So that's a big emphasis in our building, both of our buildings. Our second goal, it's called PACS. It actually is not an acronym, but Heather, correct me if I'm wrong, it means, in Greek, it means peace.
In Latin.
In Latin, it means peace. So we kind of collaborate, or we combine our PACS with some other positive interventions that we do in the school to focus on respect, responsibility, kindness, peace, productivity, health, happiness, problem solving. There's lots of skills embedded in that practice that we're focusing on and trying to emphasize and build those skills with students. Our third one is attendance, because attendance traditionally at Spring Creek is not good. So we are really emphasizing that, communicating heavily with families, trying to be proactive, trying to get ahead of the game versus retroactive. So again, trying to, like when we're noticing a trend, a day or two, a student might be out, we're trying to connect with that family immediately before it turns into 3, 4, 5, 6 days. So just trying to build a plan with them to help families understand the importance of attendance even at our grade level, so that when they get to Jeff and Rob, it hasn't become a habitual problem. So those are our 3 main goals. In those goals, like I said, we're really focusing on reading. So we've restructured our building schedule again to ensure that we have ample time for English language arts, reading and writing. So we actually are above the recommended time from the state of Ohio in our schedule. So that's giving students a lot of time with our curriculum, our teachers, and reading and writing. So something new too is our new curriculum. It's called Amplify and CKLA, and some really cool stuff about that is it's very rigorous. But probably my favorite part is the consistency that we are seeing throughout the building, because it's being utilized in kindergarten, first, second, and third. And you can leave one classroom, go to the next, and it's just a spin-off of what you just saw in the previous classroom, which is really great for our students because it's building a ton of background knowledge for them. The vocabulary is very rigorous and kind of the higher level vocabulary. So just talking to kids and hearing them interact and use those words is kind of cool. It's not something that hasn't happened before, but it's just stronger now. So that curriculum has really brought a lot of consistency to our building, and students seem to be enjoying it overall. They're excited. They're talking about it. I mean, in second grade right now, they're talking about Asia at the beginning of the unit. Probably 99% of students didn't even know Asia was a word. Now they know where Asia is on the map. They know what the world is. They know that the world is round and there's multiple places within the world, and they're learning about the Asian culture. So just as an example of kind of what that has done for us. Same thing for math, very vertically aligned in K through 3. We're focusing primarily or heavily on problem solving. Jeff kind of alluded to that multi-step, being able to break a problem down, explain it using text talk stems and those sort of things. Like I said, attendance, teacher-based teams, which Jeff also discussed, really looking at our data, strategizing what are these students missing, what can we do differently that isn't working. So that's just something that we're carrying on. Something too that on a report card that we get hit for is gifted. So we're making it a focus this year to make sure all students are being serviced by a gifted teacher or interventions, GIS. So gifted intervention specialist. Sorry about that. So hoping to get that, and then we have great coaches in the building who are supporting our teachers, so a lot of kudos to them. And as from the administrative side, we're really getting into classrooms more this year and helping give that, Jeff really hit on that focus feedback or that targeted feedback. We're seeing that, the engagement, but also from the administrative side, we're really trying to do that for our teachers. Last but not least, we're focusing on what's called productive struggle. So a great deal of our students struggle to work through adversity. So we're trying to do what we call less hand-holding and more, nope, we need you to work through that, we need you to persevere, we need you to be relentless. So we're teaching those skills while trying to get the academics in, because that's probably, honestly, our biggest hurdle is students, when they run into that struggle, they just kind of want to shut down and call it quits. So we're trying to build that up in them.
Good approach.
Thank you. Any questions for us?
So has the attendance been any better? so far?
We're getting ready to pull that data for the first few weeks. I think it is from what I've seen, but we're getting ready to pull that data to see. Yeah.
We are going to bring that to the next ad team meeting. Tony's going to be working with Mindy and Crystal Hoeing, and we're going to come up with some data ending the first quarter, and we'll present that at the next meeting for you.
With your last part of the kids being a little bit more resilient and, facing these problems head on instead of just folding, is there a way to measure that? Or is that just going to be, is that going to be measured by a kid's attitude if you see individually?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways we do that. We always talk with our team about maximizing instruction time, and we also, within the PACs, we use this thing called SPLEAMS. Rob's going to probably use that at the high school next year. And what that does
That was a
is
spleen, by the way.
basically you set expectations for your lesson. So if you want to do what's called a good behavior game, you're going to set your timer for 10-15 minutes, and within that 10-15 minutes, these are the expectations you want to see from a student. It could be, I want to see more time on task. I want to see great peer-to-peer conversation. I want to see respect given between teacher to teacher, lots of different ways. And then you track spleens on whether they're able to. So if they don't do that, you get a spleen. So you want the least amount of spleens as possible.
Gotcha.
Huh? Sorry. That's one way.
Okay.
And then we just openly have discussions about how much time is being given to redirect. Because I actually had a conference with the teacher today. I had to interrupt her formal observation because there was a lot of difficulties with instruction, but also being redirected by the teacher. So we had to take a minute to.
Now, is it spleen or spleem?
Spleen.
Spleen. All right.
It's a
Not
term
a
in the
body
game.
part.
Yeah.
Organ.
All right.
So who gets the spleen, the teacher or
So
the student?
they're the student.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a
And
lot of.
They know, they're aware, and they know spleen is.
They're on
not good.
teams, so that's another thing that we really like about PACS is it is a team effort oftentimes, and you're not just working for yourself, but you're working for others. So you're like red, blue, green. So you just say spleen, green team, and then you don't in the moment explain why they got the spleen. You wait until the game is over. And really, a lot of times, it's to allow students to reflect, hey, talk to me about why we got spleens on this team. And they'll say, because we interrupted the teacher, or we weren't paying attention, those sort of things. And just allows them to self-reflect and set some goals for the next game.
Or are there red, green, blue, all within one classroom, or one classroom is blue?
Yeah, there's a variance you can use. Yeah, a lot of times we have wristbands that are actually PACS wristbands. Teachers use that. Sometimes teachers let their teams come up with their own names. It could be team 1, team 2. There's just different ways you can do it. And you can use it anywhere in the building, so you can see it in music, art, hallway. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Yeah.
Any other questions for Ross? No? Thank you. John. Mr. Butler, PCIS.
Good evening. A lot of the stuff will build off of the Spring Creek and the junior high. We don't do spleens at Piqua Central, but kind of the same idea. I'm talking about keeping our students regulated and keeping them ready for learning, building that resiliency. So staff-wide, all the way from our cooks, all the way to the principals. We're doing a book study throughout the first part of the year called Regulation and Co-Regulation with our entire staff. And what this book study does is provide strategies for how to keep kids on task, how to regulate kids to keep them calm when they handle adversity. Because like junior high and Spring Creek, our goals are we want 100% of our students on grade level in reading, writing, and math. With where some of our students at, that's going to be a real struggle. So how do we keep them ready to learn on a consistent basis? We want to provide our staff strategies as well. And we've seen already just in the first couple months of school, it keeps us focused on being there for kids and talking with kids. With a lot of data talk and a lot of taking a look at reading plans and acronyms and all that. It's really easy to sometimes lose focus. So the most important thing is when the kid walks into the building every day or into your classroom, you have to make sure they're regulated to learn. And if they're not, what strategies can you implement? Because one size doesn't fit all. So we've seen that it's kept staff focused. We've seen a lot of great stuff. We talk about tracking data, Sean, that we track it through office referrals, how many times kids are sent to the office. So we're tracking that, and our office referrals are considerably down these first 2 months of school. It's a credit to our staff of really focusing on regulating the kids, keeping them ready to learn, keeping close tabs on them, keeping the whole child in front of them. So that's a good thing. The next piece we did is we changed our master schedule in 4th and 5th grade to include 90 minutes of reading and 90 minutes of math, and that's 4th and 5th grade, and that's at the instructional level. In addition to that, we've added 30 minutes to our master schedule, rearranged some things for reading help for all students. So if a student is not on grade level, what are we providing? We're providing them interventions to get them to grade level. If a student is at grade level, how can we take them to the next step? And this also allows us with our gifted students as well to do book clubs to really enrich the reading instruction and being able to scaffold that to give everybody a chance to reach their full potential. So that was one big change for us this year, was that change in the master schedule. The other piece too, we talk about acronyms and US data versus data that really makes sense to families. And the feedback we got from a lot of our families is, you talk about being on a 4th grade reading level. What does that really mean? Or if you give a Lexile level, what does that really mean? So one of the things we've committed to this year is what we call our success-bound communication binders that we will use throughout the year, but really focused at parent-teacher conferences. So for an example, in the success binder, we'll have a 4th grade reading passage of the expectation, and we will we have a sample of how many words per minute the student is reading, so the parents and the families can see the expectation and see where their students are at. So that, they have an example of that, not just a percentage or a percentile or a Lexile level. Same thing with math and writing. We have writing samples that we have the expectation. We'll give them a sample of what their student is actually doing and a sample of what the grade level expectation is. And the same thing for math problem solving as well. The other thing is we really want to highlight the students who are meeting our success-bound criteria. The attendance, the behavior, the grade level reading, math problem solving, writing. And we also included the physical fitness piece. So one of the things that we've implemented this year is we're tracking how many of our students can run or walk a mile in 16 minutes. A couple of things. One, we want to keep them physically healthy, but two, understanding that we want to give all kids a chance to succeed. And right now we have some students that aren't on that grade level. We want to build that capacity because while they may not be there yet, they are physically active. They're coming to school every day. Their behavior is on par, so we want to acknowledge those students as well. And like junior high and Spring Creek, we're focusing on that individual feedback from teachers to students and also as administrators, giving great specific feedback to our teachers. Any questions?
Rob's got a couple of kids that can run in like 4 minutes a mile.
He does. I saw.
He's got you beat on that one.
Yeah.
I taught him how to do that.
Well, they learn from coming.
I'm
They
the
learn from
pace,
coming.
I'm the pace setter.
Yeah, that's true. Noah did say that you were his role model.
Any questions for Heath? All right, Heather from Washington.
All right, and Washington, I feel like I should just say and just have a couple more things. So I've got a little report here for you with some pictures of our kids because they're just so cute. But if you look at the report, you'll see we're calling this our commitment torch. So the whole theme this year was based on Summer Olympics, and we have these little torches all around the school with the focus being our commitment to learning and to teaching. So we're using that to go along with our goals. We as well have 3 goals for the building. The first focuses on reading and ensuring that all of our students are reading at grade level. The biggest piece for that for us is to ensure that we are providing them daily access to reading text at grade level. The first key to that is our new curriculum, and our students, as Ross said, are loving the knowledge component of this curriculum. At lunchtime, they are talking about what they're learning and what they have learned, and they're teaching us some things because it's very detailed as to what they're learning and coming up with. So that's really exciting. Sustained silent reading is another part of our schedule that has been put in place in every classroom throughout the week, and that is a great opportunity for teachers to be providing that focused feedback individually to students, so they can hear a student read and they can give them very specific focused feedback for those students. So that's happening every week. We continue with our tier 2 and 3 interventions, as you heard about last year, our Blitz program. These little girls are in a group that's more of an enrichment group during that time, so they were practicing fluency in 2nd grade last week when we snapped this picture, and their teacher was giving them very specific focused feedback on the inflection of their voice, how they should make punctuation sound when they were reading, and they were part of a group of kids going around and reading aloud to one another. So that was neat. Something I'm really excited about, because the kids are so excited, are the reading challenges that we have at every grade level this year. So each team of teachers came up with what their challenge would be for students, either by month or by quarter. This little kindergarten girl at the bottom of the page has already met the October reading challenge. So when I was making rounds around classrooms this morning, she had hers out, she'd filled it out, so we took a quick picture of her with her commitment torch in her classroom. But of course in kindergarten, we're relying a lot on parents to read to students. But what kindergarten teachers do during that sustained silent reading time is to make sure they are also reading daily to students, so that kids get credit for that. So even if they can't do it all at home, they're able to do some of that at school, and they can see how they're learning. So on that next page, you'll see what every grade level is doing. It's different by grade level, but it's exciting. And at the bottom there, you'll see the 3rd graders. Our 3rd grade team has really gotten into leading the way for this reading challenge. So we have 3rd graders who are reading at home. We have an ongoing PowerPoint of visual pictures of kids who parents are sending pictures in to teachers. So this little girl was reading to her cat, and they have a recommendation station. So when the students finish a book that they like, they'll complete a little recommendation chart and put that up with their picture on it, so that the kids can find out what each other are reading and check out something there. We're also continuing with our literacy engagement team, which is a staff team that really focuses on bridging that gap from home to school and engaging parents in literacy. In math, we as well are focusing on students' problem solving at grade level. So our math coach has been wonderful about working ahead in the curriculum and selecting a problem every week that we're collecting data on that students must complete independently, and then the teacher-based teams review those once a month at their TBT meetings, their teacher-based team meetings, and we are looking to see how well students are doing with independent math problem solving. So that also feeds into what Ross was talking about persevering through something. These are usually multi-step math problems, and they have practice beforehand, and then they have to do this on their own. That's what we call the you-do portion of the lesson, and then we're tracking to see how well they're doing and what do we need to do as teachers to improve that as we go through those. Social emotional learning is our 3rd goal, and we are wanting to increase that positive student engagement. We're using our SEL survey, our social emotional learning survey that we do at the building. We're doing that 3 times this year. And on that page, you'll see we want to have more students reporting they enjoy coming to school, they feel safe at school most of the time, that staff greet them throughout the day a lot of the time, and that other students show RRK, which is our respect, responsibility, and kindness for Piqua. We find students on this survey are harder on themselves than any of these other components. They are not reporting as we would like to see them report, that their peers are showing respect, responsibility, and kindness. So we as a staff feel that they are. We're working through PACS to make sure that we are showing children what that looks like and helping them to see that and have gratitude for that, because that makes all of our lives better when we see that in others. So you'll see on there that our focus on PACS and improving our fidelity of implementation across all classrooms. Again, we are collecting data, looking at, as Ross said, SPLEAMS, which is a made-up word for off-task behavior, anything that is not bringing peace, productivity, health, or happiness to our classroom environment. So we are tracking that in each classroom and at each grade level to see that we are improving our outcomes of student focus and engagement in the lessons. And then we have a couple new staff engagement teams that are focusing on our adult care for one another in the building, which is something we've added this year, but we have a staff care and celebration team, and we have a positive behavior interventions and supports for families. So we have 2 teams of teachers working on that to help bridge that gap for our social emotional learning and our wellness, our mental health wellness across the board for both staff and students.
That's awesome.
Do you have questions?
So in a perfect world, if the reading goals were successful at Washington Spring Creek, Heath could change his reading goal and not have it. So that would be in a perfect world. If they were already at grade level reading, then Heath could change his goals and that wouldn't have to be a goal of his, right? So, okay. Because that, I mean, ultimately, that's what you want.
Correct, yeah.
And I think Ross said, it would change our focus from learning to read to reading to learn.
Exactly. Yeah, that was a great phrase.
Yeah. And key to that, you've heard us talk a lot about the whole kindergarten readiness, and we will have that in early November. We'll have our kindergarten readiness scores, and we'll be able to see again where we fit with that. But when kids come in below grade level, before they even come to us, when they're not ready to be learners, you see by our data we've shown you, it takes all of kindergarten and most of first grade just to get them at the beginning stages. So they're already a year and a half behind. So we have to get more kids kindergarten ready so when they come in, they hit the ground running and they can really focus on those on-level pieces. We're always going to want kids to read on level or higher. So that in that way, it'll always be there. But if they're behind and they don't have letter sounds or letter recognition even, any exposure to text, they're way behind, and that's a real struggle. And it has been in Piqua for my whole career. We've always had the lowest kindergarten readiness scores in the county, but they're more exasperated these last few years since COVID. Yeah.
Did you already have your family literacy night?
We did.
Last week?
We did. We had it last week, and it was a smaller turnout than what we've had in the past. We generally have had it a little bit later in the fall. We wanted to pair it with Right to Read Week this year and with our pollinator program with the Miami County Parks Department. So we had a lot of things going on, and I know it's a busy time for families. We did have a good turnout. It was just a little bit less than when it's a little colder outside and people
It was a beautiful night
lucky
that
it
night.
was.
So yeah.
It was. It was
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Very well run. They did a very good job with it, though. It was really good. Mr. Messick.
All right. I have to follow the cute kid pictures. That's always good.
Don't you have some?
What's that? Yes. Yeah, we
He's
got
got
those.
spleens.
I don't have any. We don't have any spleens either. So yeah, I'm a pretty simple guy, so we'll just talk it out here for you guys. Our big thing, at the high school or with our administrator or assistant principals is we're firm believers in that we want to invest our time on the teachers. It's the most impact that we're going to get if we can get things going well in the classroom and the presentation of the materials in the classroom at the right grade level. That's going to have the biggest effect on us. We don't have a lot of extra little programs because we're so content oriented once they get into the high school. So one of the big things that all of us are doing, we started doing it last year, and I take it back. I'm going to step back a little bit farther. So we really talk about what is tier 1 instruction. Okay, what is a good classroom instructional piece? You know, when the kid walks in, what's going to be the greatest experience for them to learn as much information and be engaged in the content? That's how we get kids to come back. That's how we get kids to take more classes. We don't, we love the Career Center and everything else, but we still want kids to be at the high school. We enjoy College Credit Plus with Edison, but we want that to be at the high school as well. So, what are things that we can do in the classrooms to keep those kids engaged in the stuff that we're doing? And so we do, I don't know if you guys know this, we do different types of observations. We have just the normal, just walk in, pop in, hey, how's it going? Just looking, talking to the kids. And then we have what we call we have walkthroughs, which is actually recorded in the evaluation, the OTES evaluation, and then we go through our formal walkthroughs. As a district, all of us this summer decided that it's very important for us to have a bigger presence in the classroom, and each of us are doing at least one walkthrough, written formal walkthrough, focused, that we're in the classroom for over 20 minutes, providing that teacher very specific feedback. Instead of just listing out things that they did, what are things that we want to see improve? Because that's going to be what's going to have the biggest effect on our students. So I kind of want to take you through some of the things what we look for when we go in there, when we do these things. And because we're doing a lot of that stuff too, but I want to take you through this part. The biggest thing is we want to make sure that when we walk into a lesson, there's a very clear objective with an outcome. Okay. Today we're going to learn about this. At the end of the lesson, we're going to know this. You have that little roadmap put out there. And it's got to be tied to, in our case, the Ohio Model Curriculum and at standard level, grade level. We want to make sure that lessons in the high school are engaging. So what does that look like? So we have about it's 47-minute class period. About every 15 to 20 minutes, there should be some type of change in what is going on in the classroom. The days of sitting there and talking for 40 minutes and taking notes, no good. All right. I can't hold my attention that long, and I'm not going to be able to hold your guys' attention for that long. We have to have these multiple transitions. And so, like I said, we try to look for that 15 to 20 minutes. Sometimes it may be 10 and 30, just depending on what they're doing. And those transitions, in the perfect world, would be a teacher to student kind of whole group session. That's when you get normally your initial instruction. But we're looking there for students being engaged with the teacher. The only way that happens is with questioning. Very direct, specific questions to students. We look for a balance between whole class instruction, like whole class questions, like what are you guys thinking about this, what about this, what about that? And then also say, Mr. Frazier, could you please tell me what your thoughts are on this? And then to top that is when we get a kid to comment on that comment. That's the perfect world right there. Then we also look for student to student. In these observations, we want very specific grouping. Okay, we're not just saying that go find a partner. All right, that's not the purpose of that. And we want it to be task oriented. So you're going to work with your partner to do something very specific. It's not to work together. For example, like I was in a classroom, did an observation, and the teacher had, there's only one Chromebook that's allowed, and they were doing slides on a progressive, and they had to report back, progressive error, and they had to report back. And so he had basically went out and gave them an exemplar. This is what I'm looking for. This is my slide. This is something that your slide may look like, and you have to work together to do it. This person must do this person do that. And then we look at individual work as well in that segment, so 10, 15 minutes of that. But it has to be teacher monitored. So we do not want to see a teacher ever sitting at their desk. It's not good, all right? So we want them up, going around, checking in on students, providing feedback and comments with them. And then finally, is there some type of an assessment of the learning? Going back to when you said at the original, when we're done with this lesson, we're going to be able to do this. Are we actually checking to do that? So those are the things that we're looking through in walkthroughs. The former observations have a little bit more, paperwork-wise and stuff like, or planning-wise and stuff that they do outside of the school or out of the classroom. But that's what we're going through. All of us are going through and checking that because we have to invest our time in the teachers. We have a 34-year commitment to these people to make them better. And that's how we're going to get our students better ultimately, is focusing on those things, focusing on the people. They all mentioned about focused feedback as one of our building goals. So we've progressed through making sure that we have the model curriculum over the years, the proper curriculum. And each year we kind of just add a little bit more to the pie without forgetting what we already started. Big emphasis last year was getting the kids off the Chromebooks. It became too easy to put lessons on there and have kids do those things. And I've had I meet with my student advisor. We've gotten great feedback through their observations. It's been a real change over the course of several years. So that's what we're continuing our focus on, and we'll never leave that goal, at least for the next 4 years. We'll continue to keep working on that. All right, and still using our ProCore and IXL, other stuff, and then our success-bound literacy goals, as these guys are too. For us, we've made a little bit of change. We're concentrating on our 9th and 10th graders. A lot of our juniors and seniors, they're out and about and doing their things, but we want to put the most time into our 9th and 10th graders, making sure that they're math ready and ELA ready or English ready. So reading levels and writing. How we're doing that is we're really putting a big focus on primary resources so that we're getting more bang for our buck instead of just throwing something random out, but just making sure that kids are using primary resources in the classroom. And most of our curriculums are written at the correct grade level anyway. And most of our teachers have to use the same curriculum. And so it's good. That math curriculum that we have that we've been using for 2 years is flat out impressive. It's been pretty good. So, all right. What you got for me?
How's
All
your
right.
staff? I got one.
Dang it, I thought I stumped you.
You almost got it. How is your staff do they like these walkthroughs and
We started doing it last year as our building going, it kind of went into the district this year. Yes, because we're going in there and we're providing them information, and
so most of them
right.
like that.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you don't
I haven't
have
had
too many
anybody
that-
say, "Oh my God, you're in my room too long." Never has happened. But we're always in their rooms, So it's kind of like we're always popping in and seeing stuff. So it's not too hard. I think matter of fact, I think they enjoy it. When we had actually our last DLT meeting, and I was with I think it was with Spring Creek or Washington. I was with elementary teachers, and we were talking about the feedback and doing all that stuff and how they're appreciating it. And it's, I think even you said, being into the classrooms all the time just makes a different feel in there, knowing what's going on. And so it's just, it actually in the long run makes my job a heck of a lot easier. It makes their job a heck of a lot easier as well.
Well, and probably if it's an established culture, then they don't think as much of it. But you must have a good approach, because I feel like maybe some would be more closed off, potentially. So that's good.
Right, and I think it's like anything else. You're there. There's two ways to coach people, right? You can tell them how to do something, or you can show them a way to do something, and let them process that out, right? And that's the way you're going to get your success. If you tell somebody to do something, you're not going to. You might get it that moment, but you're not going to get it all the time.
Along that lines, what I really love about their work this year is what we talked about this summer was we always say what makes a student success bound, what would help them be successful. This year, the staff and the principals committed to that same thing. What makes a successful teacher? What makes a teacher that's success-bound? What makes a principal success-bound? What are those traits? Brainstormed, looked at the evaluation system, tried to narrow it down. You heard common themes of what makes a teacher successful, what makes a principal successful. They were basically telling you that in their goals without saying that out loud. So it's just gone up to that level where everybody's focusing on what makes us bound for success. And that's what's getting the progress that we're starting to see. So really good work this summer, and they went back to their staffs, and the district leadership team meetings, the first two, have just been fantastic. They're leading them, and they were really strong, really good job. They've already got it balanced out, I think, through January, I think. Yeah. Any questions for them before we let them go?
Just thank you for all that you do.
That's a great job.
You are welcome to stay or leave. Up to you guys.
Well,
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Just a few other things. You may have heard on the news, and I did share some things. So there was a event that went to the Planning Commission for the city for rezoning in the area around Eagles Nest and Deerfield, and that caused some concerns by some citizens. They had some meetings. One of the questions that came up was, did the city meet with the schools? And at the time, no, they hadn't. I was honest about that at the meeting and shared that they hadn't. Since then, had been contacted by Kyle Hinkleman from the city. He wanted to share with me some different things and kind of get on the same page. Our concern was our student population. At Washington in particular, over the last few years, has been more than Spring Creek. We've really watched to see if we have to change that boundary line anyway, but not knowing about any potential housing development with that significant number of houses could change that a lot. We already kind of have situations where we've had to have some families take their kids to Spring Creek with overflow. Our kindergarten and first grade students in particular have much higher numbers at Washington than at Spring Creek. So that trend continues at an early age. As they move to second, if next year's kindergarten numbers are higher at Washington, we're definitely seeing that trend much higher at Washington already. So more housing up there will affect that too. So our conversation was really good. We talked about just the importance of the city, making sure we're aware of what's happening, how many houses will be built. They've got a math formula that they try to use where it's like 0.4 kids per house and it'll be this much or whatever. It doesn't always work that way. You can't divide it by 5 because Spring Creek would be out of it. We only have one intermediate school, so that population's all going to go there. So we just have to watch it, and we just have to be aware so that we can plan ahead and know what we need to do to meet potential numbers. So we're not against it in any way. There's good things that can happen. We do need more housing. What I'm just saying and what the city agreed to was we just have to have better communication ahead of time so we're ready for those moments when they happen. So and it was good. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention because it has been in the news. It's been in the commission meetings. I wanted you to be aware that the city and I did have a conversation after that about that potential. So
What's the difference in enrollment between Spring Creek and
right now it is, let's see, I brought that, 42 students. So we have 16 more kindergartners at Washington than Spring Creek, 21 more first graders, and then just 7 second graders and 5 third graders. So you can see how the populations.
It's not drastic. It's not like we have hundreds of kids that are more kids at Washington.
No, but what you can see is that the earlier numbers in grades kindergarten and first grade, they're already much higher than they are at Spring Creek. So if next year's kindergarten class continues that, we will have kindergarten first and second grade numbers much higher. And if it continues to evolve, the imbalance will be much more greater.
Yeah.
So, and with new housing comes more families and more children. So we're going to at some point either have to move boundary lines, which is hard to figure out until you get families in there with kids, or we're going to have to do something like one building be all first and second grade, where you can have everybody at that building and not worry about a split between two buildings.
Yeah.
And you can control numbers and staffing and so on better. So it's just knowing about it and being able to plan for it is important. And as I said in the conversation that Kyle and I had, I think we're both on the same page in terms of that now. We just have to continue as we move forward with any kind of development that we're aware, so we can be prepared for the adjustments. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention since it's been out there and the question has been brought up several times, was the school engaged? And they rightfully at the commission meeting said we failed to do that, but afterward we did get together and we had that conversation. So we just have
Less
to stay in
than 10
touch.
houses a year being built currently in the last 10 years to going to potentially having 50 to 100 houses a year being built is a whole different change in how things work. When we built these buildings based on what was here at the time, not with any growth, not with any locally funded initiative that allowed for more space, it's going to create lots of challenges as we move forward. Not that we can't handle them.
Our hope long-term, too, is to find a space for preschool to be in one location. Right now, it's at two different buildings, and again, if we get them into one location, the efficiency of it will be better. We can meet the needs better, but more importantly, it opens up space at our two primary buildings,
Right.
which could help address the situation, too, if we had an increase in number of students. So we've been working for 2 years with the ESC on trying to find that space where it could be and what we could do. So we're this close, but no.
We really don't know what kind of kids are coming. I mean, not kind of kids. We don't know if there's going to be all high school kids move in,
Correct.
or all elementary kids, or
Correct.
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. It's typically, depending on the type of housing and the cost of the housing. So families that are starting off younger, young families that have kids, they haven't reached their maximum capacity with their jobs yet. So depending on where that housing is, they're going to have not high-end housing, so to speak, until they get through a part in their career where they've got more money that they can put into a housing. So typically, you would end up with higher income housing with older kids because the families have worked their way up through their careers. So, but it could be at any level. Like I said, Washington and PCI right now are pretty full. So we can take more numbers. We just have to watch and be able to plan and adjust as we need to. And again, just the importance of just knowing what the development would be and what the potential of it would be, so we can start putting scenarios together to map out what we may have to do if we get to certain levels. Because those are things you want to communicate to families, so they're well known ahead of time. And our resources, we might have to look at staffing issues. There's just a lot of angles we have to go through to find out what would be best for our students and our district and so on. So I think we're in a good place now, is what I'm trying to say. But I wanted you to be aware, since it was out there, you may have seen or heard some things. I wanted you to be aware that we are in talk now. And I think they understand our side is we really want to serve our community well. They do too. We have to work together to make sure that happens. So I think they're there. So I sent out something about in December, Clint will be off the UVCC board. He's retiring from that, so we have to find a replacement. And Kelly has graciously said she would do it. I've assured her and reassured her that it's a great board to work with, and it really is. I think they'll be fun to work with. Every board member that has ever done it has really enjoyed it. So thank you for that. December, we will approve her officially, and then she'll be that liaison that you may have heard like Andy and Clint do in the past. So it'll be great. She is amazing. And then the Veterans Day breakfast is coming up, so I really wanted to spotlight that. Each of you have something here. Help us promote that. It's a great way for us to just say thank you to our veterans. And for the people at home, this is on our website, but it'll be November 11th at 8:30 to 10 at the high school. Free breakfast for veterans and their guests. We have our music department K through. This even though it's at the high school, our entire district participates in this. So young kids are there singing all the way up through the high school. They're going to do a great big finale this year. They're going to transition everybody to the CPA. They're going to have the band and all the choirs all together perform a patriotic kind of composed melodic piece. So they're working really hard on it. I think it's going to be a really good thing. So we really do appreciate our veterans, and it's our privilege to honor them. So just want to promote that too. And that's it for my report.
All right. Moving on, now we are going to the superintendent's agenda.
Okay, we'd like to recommend board approval of the Rise Up Credential Pathway and its cost as presented. So we have different pathways that students have to earn as part of their graduation. This one is an industry-approved pathway for graduates. This focuses on retail, customer service, and sales. So we've got manufacturing kinds of things, but this helps students in that pathway learn and take the test in that way. So we'd be approving that. Recommend the board approval of the attached list of donations and grants to Piqua City Schools. We have Kiwanis Key Club donating some money. Hartsel Propeller sponsored one of our band camp lunches. We really appreciate that. They've done that, I think, for the last 3 years, so great thing for them. And the Piqua Education Foundation, several grants here totaling up to $7,256.08. So again, we can't do our work without those kinds of support efforts, so we appreciate that. And that's it.
All right, any questions for Dwayne?
So the Rise Up pathway
Yep,
is going to be new for next year.
yes.
And once we approve it, we won't have to, we don't approve them annually, the
Nope.
pathways. They're
Correct.
just- They go into effect.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is this how the others work?
Yes.
Something like that?
And some are state, some are state initiatives, and some are local. So this one,
one's local.
correct, yeah. We were trying to find something different for kids to do to earn that pathway, and this does that in a unique way, because a lot of things are more, like I said, industry kinds of things, but there's a lot of people that go into sales and customer service types of jobs, so it will focus on, they could be bankers, they could work in offices, they could work in retail. I mean, there's lots of different angles they could take this, but it gives them that chance to learn those skills too and get that credential.
Shows the cost of that pathway is $115, and that's passed on to the student.
We pay for it unless the kid doesn't pass the test.
Okay.
So we commit to making sure they get it, but they have to give us that commitment back and pass
Absolutely.
it. And if they do everything in the coursework and everything we have, they're going to pass it. They will. It's not going to throw them for a loop. It's a good pathway.
All right, seeing any more questions for Dwayne? I will take a motion to approve the superintendent's agenda. Do you have a second? Sean and Kelly. Motion and a second. I will, all those in favor of the superintendent's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, that is passed.
Thank you.
All right, now moving to Tony with the personnel agenda.
Thank you. You all had a chance to take a look at the update that I sent out on Wednesday or Thursday. I think there was one thing maybe added that kind of screwed up the bullet points, so if there are any questions, feel free to ask anything at all. The one thing I would like to point out is item number 4, retirement of Roger Bateman. I think I put in there that he's been with us for 22 years, so I wanted to thank him for his work and wish him well, and of course we'll recognize him at the end of the year ceremony also. So outside of that, it's a short agenda, which I'm not upset about for sure. So any questions about the personnel agenda for me? Thank you.
No, I don't think so. All right, then I will take a motion to approve the personnel agenda.
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Jeremy, will you please call roll?
Mrs. McMackin,
Aye.
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Ford.
Aye. All right, moving on. There was no old business. Moving on to new business. recommend the board approval of the purchase of a classroom trailer, foundation, and utilities not to exceed $500,000.
This is to go at the Piqua Central Intermediate Building between the building and the church. There's the fence there, so it'll sort of go in there. We'll landscape it in, and also then bring the playground in as part of the landscaping with the sidewalks and everything, and make it all look like it's all connected, and then put some turf inside the middle of that so that we can keep it for them to play on, because the grass becomes a mud hole very quickly with the number of kids we have playing out there. So we have a plan in place to do that. Broombaugh has helped us as sort of like the general contractor through that process, but the trailer itself, we're pre-ordering separately through a already bid out contract process, and it can take 6 to 8 months to build, which means it should be here in June if we take action today. So we've already been doing the one at the high school, and good news is we're way under budget. So I don't suspect that it'll cost $500,000, but I do that so that we don't have to keep coming back to you and asking for that. I think right now at the high school we're wrapping some things up, but we're about $260 or so. So yeah, so we're getting through it.
And this will be used for the same type of.
The Elevate program will actually move into that building, and we custom made this trailer because we're ordering it fresh. We got the other trailer because it was available, and got it here quickly, but well, more quickly than ordering it, even though it should have been here sooner. But in this case, we customized the trailer to fit exactly what Elevate does with the 3 different spaces that they need. So it's going to be set up for them to use.
So no longer that age group will no longer have to be transported to the junior high, correct?
That is still the primary Elevate. This is for the Piqua Central Intermediate. So they're still in the building now, but they're occupying 2 classrooms and then another space. So
Okay. So
that frees up
currently-
some space that we need in the building to be able to continue all the stuff that we have in the hallways right now. So we're talking about being at full capacity of human beings. Like, yeah, we're running out of rooms to put people. So this will help alleviate that problem, but also give them their own space to be able to work from.
One at the high school, 7 through 12.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they have the junior high.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
and then the primary are located
Correct.
at the junior high. Okay.
PCI.
Primary?
Oh, primary. I thought you meant, yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes. They're still there because of space. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I thought you meant PCI people. Yeah. They're still at PCI. Yes.
All right. Any more questions for Jeremy on the purchase of the classroom trailer? I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? All right. Jeremy, will you please call roll?
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell.
Aye.
Mrs. McMacken.
Aye.
Mr. Ford.
Aye. All right. Motion approved for the purchase of the classroom trailer, foundation, and utilities, not to exceed 500. I mean, that's coming in at 260 for the high school. That's pretty good.
They've done a lot of work. Yeah. When we get it done, we'll let you know, and you can come out and take a look at it. See what it
Awesome.
looks like, too.
Landscaping, water, we got the gutters up, so now we got to get the water away from the building, because we can't just have it like issue out onto the sidewalks and everything. We ended up expanding the sidewalk. I don't know if you guys have been back there to see it, but the concrete now is from the building to the old, where the old sidewalk was, and so it's opened up. We'll put some tables and stuff out there for them to go outside as well. So putting some mature trees in, not tiny trees, but mature trees to make it look like it's been there for a while, and clean up that space and level out the grass. And
So
we
in a perfect world, if it comes in June and gets set up, will it be ready in August?
for school
Or
to
in
start,
September?
yes. It'll be done before school starts because of this action. The high school one, if all goes well, I was told would be November 4th.
Oh, for the high school one?
So we'll see.
You just
I get told a lot of things, so we're
You
going to
just
go
jinxed
with,
it by saying it out loud.
yeah, probably so, but that's what we were told today. Eric's over there laughing at me, I know, but that's what we were told, so I look forward to seeing it done. because they're really, really on top of things.
All right. Well, looking forward to that. Next item of business is recommend the board approval of the amendments to the treasurer's contract with Jeremy Hiddle effective August 1st, 2024 through July 31st, 2026.
So this was already done last November. We forgot to attach it to the board agenda, so there's nothing new to this. You already went through the motions, but we have to make sure that it's attached. So we just attached it for full transparency, and you're basically approving the same things with no new additions, so.
I ended up with vacation brain at the time and didn't attach it.
So now that it's attached to board docs, makes it official.
With your vote, it'll make it official, and yeah,
Okay.
nothing new.
Nothing new. All right. Any
Right.
questions for Jeremy? Yes, sir.
I was going to say my next contract we would talk about coming up in the next month or two. It's time to start the next one. So just so you knew in the timing of things that I'm not wanting anything different, but it's just time to do a new contract
Okay.
So it'll come up again here soon.
in November or December or whatever Sean would like to do.
It's up to me.
Isn't that right, Kelly?
Yes, sir.
All right. Nope, that sounds good. All right. So do I have a motion for the approval of the amendments to the treasurer's contract with Jeremy Hiddle effective August 1st, 24 through July 31st, 26?
Second.
All right. So Kelly and a second. All right. Jeremy, will you please call roll?
Mrs. McMacken.
Aye.
Mr. Frazier.
Aye.
Mr. Mitchell. Mr. Ford.
Aye. All right, motion passes. All right, that is all for new business. We have nothing for hearing on the public non-agenda items. And our next regular meeting is November 14th, 2024 at 6 p.m. here at the board office. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, and we have a second. All right. Have a great week.
Thank you.